the most terrifying sound heard around the world. Now, I don't even need to watch this video, and I can tell you exactly what the most terrifying sound heard around the world is. Remember when you was a kid, right? Like, pretend it's like 2007, right? And you're a child, and then you fall asleep, right? You fall asleep in your race car bed, right? Lightning McQueen, right? With like some Spider-Man bed sheets, right? And it's like a Hulk pillowcase because nobody had matching sheet sets as children, right? You fall asleep, and then you wake up to the blistering sound of the George Lopez theme song. That right there is the most terrifying sound heard around the world. That and that fucking, what is it? Whatever that company was that would do like that weird sound at the beginning of movies in the movie theater, and it seemed like the sole purpose was to make you deaf and bleed from the ears. So those two sounds are probably what our favorite Jorge, blame it on Jorge, is gonna be talking about in this video. Look at that, bro. Look at Chris. I'm foreshadowing the future without any knowledge of what's going on. So, the most terrifying sound heard around the world from everybody's favorite Jorge, blame it on Jorge. Let's see what we got.
This video is brought to you by Manscape. There comes a time in every young man's life where he realizes that appearances are important.
Where you gonna need to shave your dick.
Your hygiene matters.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to business, social events, and relationships. So why not try the Lawnmower 4.0 by Manscape, the premium global brand for men's grooming and hygiene products.
As a womanizer myself, right, you guys know, as a womanizer like myself, I can confirm that the ladies love a nice, freshly mowed lawn. Okay, so get yourself a lawnmower, use the Jorge code.
The lawnmower is wireless and waterproof,
I'm telling
which
you,
makes it great for shaving while in the shower.
Life.
Its ceramic blades are also crafted carefully with skin-safe technology, reducing the chances of nicks and cuts.
See that?
Your balls will thank you for that one.
You won't
and
clip
it
your
even
balls.
comes with 4 trimmer guard options, so you can perfectly customize your desired hair length. And if that's not enough, Manscaped is offering a 20% discount and free shipping by using the promo code Jorge20.
If you're broke,
so
use
go to manscaped.com and use my promo code Jorge20. That's JORGE20 for 20% off your order and free shipping. Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring this video.
Shout out Manscaped. Ooh, shiver me timbers. Is that the sound?
In 2016, several diplomats, CIA operatives, and their family members began reporting terrifying health problems after hearing a strange sound. All of these people were either American or Canadian, and all of them, at some point, were working or living in Havana.
Is this the sound? It's not very terrifying.
The symptoms of these alleged illnesses were very strange and scary, and no one has yet been able to identify why they happen or where they came from. But over time, more people have begun suffering from the symptoms, and its effects have started to reach way beyond the small confines of Havana. The case is one of the world's strangest modern-day mysteries, and includes links to surveillance, espionage, political posturing, and dark and mysterious brain-altering forces. This is
dark and mysterious brain-altering forces. Are we dealing with Doctor Strange here? What am I listening to?
Terrifying mystery of the Havana Syndrome.
What is this? Some black witch using dark magic, casting spells. Hearing problems, brain attacks.
Be an intervention in Cuba by United States Armed Forces. This government will do.
Relations between Cuba and the US have been tense for a long while. During their patchy past, the two countries have battled and postured over invasions, revolutions, embargoes, and much more aggression and antagonism. From the Bay of Pigs to the Cuban Missile Crisis, to fears about both communism and capitalism, it's been a rough ride. But in 2015, the two countries decided to put their difficult past behind them in an attempt to improve relations.
Obama!
In the same year, the US Embassy in Cuba reopened, re-establishing the Havana base that had been closed since 1961. And all seemed well until late 2016, when several of its staff began reporting terrifying and bizarre health problems. Their families were also affected, along with CIA operatives and their families.
Not a new developments in the mystery attack on American diplomats and their families in Cuba, and new cases under investigation. Representatives for those diplomats now claiming some Americans suffered traumatic brain injuries and permanent hearing loss at the U.S. Embassy in Havana.
Traumatic brain
Some
injuries.
were waking in the middle of the night, hearing grinding, blaring, pulsating sounds. Some suddenly felt as if they were driving fast in the back of a car, with pressure mounting in their heads and ears. Others lost the ability to hear properly, while some experienced speech problems. A small few suffered from
That's just the cocaine
spontaneous
kicking in.
nosebleeds, while others experienced headaches, tinnitus, and balance problems. These attacks
That's
usually
a
occurred while the
hangover.
sufferers were in their temporary Havana homes or in their Havana hotel rooms. Sometimes the symptoms were only experienced in specific localized places. Often, for example, sufferers could feel the symptoms while lying in bed, but were relieved of their pain and suffering after walking only a few feet. Most attacks
weird.
occurred at night, and most lasted for anything between 30 seconds and 30 minutes. The attacks were always accompanied by some sort of noise, but the interpretation of this noise was always different. Some people heard low hums, others
my
heard
God.
shrill pitches, and some heard oscillating thumping sounds.
Oscillating thumping sounds and soft humming, bro. Dude, these people are literally sustaining traumatic brain injuries after listening to a Kid Cudi album, bro. I'm confused. I'm so confused. I don't know what is happening, bro. What sound? What is this mysterious, awful, terrifying sound that is causing people to literally just convulse and start like foaming at the mouth? They're getting like dizzy and stuff. Like what is it a specific sound, or is it just like these people got sick and they heard a sound in their brain? Like I don't know. I'm confused.
Most of the attacks were very intense and overwhelming. One victim, when describing it, said, quote, "It came on very suddenly, in a matter of about 7 minutes. I went from feeling completely fine to thinking, oh, something's not right, to being very, very worried and actually thinking I was going to die."
I woke up in the middle of the night because I had this incredible case of vertigo. It felt almost as if I was in some kind of, carnival ride. And I'll tell you, Catherine, I'd spent years in the war zones of Iraq and Afghanistan. I'd put my life on the line. This was the most terrifying experience of my life. I had no control.
Pressure in the head.
Yes.
Loss of balance.
Yes.
Ringing in the ears.
Yes. I mean, I've had a headache for 3 years. It feels like a vice clamp down here, and then there's pressure that comes over the top of my head.
Mark says it took 3 years to get help at the Walter Reed Military Hospital.
But they diagnosed me with a traumatic brain injury. It's on paper. I have it.
A traumatic brain
Over time,
injury.
US authorities...
But how do you sustain a brain injury without any type of, you know what I'm saying? Like if somebody walks up and dubs you in the head with a baseball bat, right? You get into a car accident, right? Plane crash, right? You trip and fall down the stairs, hit your head a couple of times, you know what I'm saying? You get drunk and you trip and fall on the sidewalk, hit your head, crack your head open, right? Like, these all take some type of force, and some type of activity is required. So how does he just chilling in his bed, and then all of a sudden, what, a demon? I think it's a demon, bro. That's the only explanation.
became concerned, eventually removing the sufferers of these symptoms from Havana. But some of the attacks have left the victims with long-term symptoms. One of those affected now allegedly wears a hearing aid full-time. Others have been left unable to recall certain words and can't concentrate for long periods. Some are
That's
now
me on a
unable
normal
to
day.
focus, struggling to read basic words and texts. Sometimes, sufferers forget what they were talking about during conversations, or have no memory of chats they've had only 5 minutes earlier. So, what caused these symptoms? And why are they only happening to embassy staff, CIA employees, and their families and children? What exactly was happening in Havana? And who was responsible for it?
The demons. That's who's responsible. Chapter 2. The Cuba Connection.
At first, US investigators assumed that the Cuban government was behind the attacks. But in an official statement, they denied any responsibility, claiming, quote, Cuba has never, nor would it ever, allow that the Cuban territory be used for any action against accredited diplomatic agents or their families, without exception. US authorities weren't so sure. In September 2017,
I like how
non-essential-
they say they don't use the Cuban territory is not used for that, bro. They don't allow you to assassinate US diplomats on Cuban soil, but as soon as they pull up to Canada, bro, it's GG's. Nice.
US authorities weren't so sure. In September 2017, non-essential staff were removed from the US Embassy in Havana, along with all family members, while US citizens were instructed not to visit the nation. Some CIA operatives were also withdrawn from Cuba. In 2019, Canadian staff were removed from the Canadian Embassy, after at least 14 staff members reported similar symptoms. Lots of US officials were convinced that their people were being targeted and attacked by Cuban authorities. One said, quote, "We don't know the means, the methods, and how these attacks are being carried out. The fact that some of these attacks have occurred in hotels where American citizens could be, we felt we must warn them not to travel to Cuba until we know more about the source and ways to mitigate these attacks." US authorities claimed that at least 21 Americans had, quote, been targeted in specific attacks in Havana. Donald Trump, who was president at the time, agreed, saying, quote, "I do believe Cuba's responsible. I do believe that. It's a very unusual attack, as you know, but I do believe Cuba is responsible."
Surprised he didn't say China.
And it's easy to see why this was the first theory. Historically, there's been a huge amount of harassment between US spies and agents and their Cuban counterparts. Both sides have tried to intimidate and confuse one another, even during recent years of peaceful reconciliation. According to US diplomat Vicky Huddlestone, Cuban authorities have pointed cameras at their homes, keeping them under constant surveillance. They've also broken into their houses, defecating in their toilets, leaving cigarette butts in their ashtrays.
Whoa! Wait, who's shitting in whose toilets?
Use one another. Parts. Both sides have tried to intimidate and confuse one another, even during recent years of peaceful reconciliation. According to US diplomat Vicky Huddlestone, Cuban authorities have pointed cameras at their homes, keeping them under constant surveillance.
Oh, fuck.
They've also broken into their houses, defecating in their toilets, leaving cigarette butts in their ashtrays, and intentionally leaving behind other obvious signs of intrusion.
Wait, so the Cubans? Wait, so the Cubans, right? The USians in Cuba, right, where they were beefing with the Cubans. So the Cubans were breaking into the Americans' houses and shitting in their toilets without flushing. Bro, listen, that might be one of the most disrespectful fucking things that you can do, bro. You walk into somebody else's house, you shit in a toilet, and then you just leave it for them to find, bro. the fumes just filling the whole house, bro. Smells like shit, literally, bro. Dude, bro, I can't tell if that is pure evil or pure genius, dude.
Some speculate that they even
That's
tried
crazy.
to poison their pets.
Okay, that's evil. There's the line. Okay, cigarette butts, harmless. Leaving shit, harmless, unless the shit contains like hepatitis or something, right? E. coli, whatever. Right? Those are harmless. Poisoning the pets, okay, now this is not I'm not enjoying this anymore.
But amid all the speculation and controversy, Cuban officials helped US authorities with their investigations. They agreed that the attacks were happening, and they too wanted to find out what was occurring and why. Because they were so willing to help, it would seem that Cuba wasn't responsible after all. Suspicion then fell on rogue Cuban groups. Could these attacks have been orchestrated by Cuban rebels who were angry about the blossoming positive relationship between Cuba and the USA? Other skeptics thought that the whole phenomenon had been contrived and falsified by Trump's presidential team, who were eager to destroy much of the progress made by the Obama administration and Cuba. But if that's the case, how is it possible that some Canadian citizens have also suffered the symptoms? Another unusual theory was pesticides. During the period over which the Havana syndrome symptoms were being reported, the Cuban government had been spraying lots of insecticides to curb the spread of the Zika virus.
Okay.
Some investigators speculated that these insecticides might have caused some of the associated symptoms, but in all honesty, that's highly unlikely. But here's where things get crazy, and where most of these
now they're
theories
getting
fall
crazy?
short.
Was it
The
crazy
Havana
before?
syndrome might have started in Havana, but its impact and influence soon moved away beyond Cuba's capital. Cases started popping up in other parts of the world, and most theories and explanations became completely obsolete.
Far beyond Havana.
The Havana syndrome soon started spreading way beyond Havana, and US citizens who had never...
Bro, somebody call Camila Cabello. She can fix this. She will handle this swiftly and efficiently. Somebody hit up Camilla, bro. You can't reach her? I'm sure Shawn Mendes got her, bro.
been in
Hit him
Cuba
up.
began to experience similar symptoms and effects. In 2018, a female employee at the US consulate in Guangzhou began suffering from almost exactly the same symptoms as those who had been working in Cuba, and after an analysis of her condition, she and at least 2 more US citizens were removed from China. At a similar time, an employee of Tashkent's US Embassy in Uzbekistan started suffering from the same symptoms.
Uzbekistan.
In 2019, a White House official suffered from a similar attack while walking her dog in a Virginia suburb of Washington. Her dog also began seizing up.
Dude,
Another official
what?
felt the same shocking symptoms while walking near the White House.
What? This is
While
weird.
previous attacks in Havana have all happened indoors, these attacks happened outdoors. So it seems that the rules have changed, and these terrifying attacks are no longer limited to homes or hotels. Whoever is behind this can now seemingly do so anywhere.
You know what the craziest thing about this is? Is you can't do anything. Because as I don't know, as more of the video goes on, but as of right now, as of 13:23 into this video, there is no source for where this is coming from. There is no suspects for who could potentially be doing this. There is no specific region where this is occurring, because as you see, it's happening in China, Uzbekistan, and Virginia, bro. And it's happening, it's not any specific person, any specific type of person, man, woman, race, whatever, right? Height, weight, nothing. So it seems like it's just completely random. So at any moment, right now, during this recording, bro, I could start hearing Kid Cudi humming in my head, and then I want to die from a fucking splitting headache, bro. Like, this is terrifying. This is absolutely terrifying. Like, what do you do? How do you fix this, bro? You gotta call on the Avengers or something, dude. There's
And
no
whoever's being
way.
attacked can be attacked anywhere. At least 3 CIA operatives have experienced these types of symptoms since the 2020 election, and there are now over 100 cases around the world, with many of them unrelated to Cuba or Havana. Similar attacks have happened to other US intelligence personnel in Russia, Poland, Georgia, Australia, and Taiwan. They are becoming more frequent, more widespread, and more scary. And they're receiving more coverage and investigation every day. But how are these attacks occurring?
That's what I'd like
Is
to
it
know,
possible
Jorge.
that someone is using some kind of weapon that leaves behind no trace?
Like a gas? Or like a liquid? Radio waves and microwaves. The microwave is
One of the
doing
most
this?
popular theories is that these symptoms are a result of some form of radio frequencies or electromagnetic pulses. The most common speculation is that microwave energy is the root cause.
What could be the cause? After a year-long investigation, 19 top experts from the National Academies of Sciences conclude the most likely explanation: directed pulse microwave energy.
Microwaves!
Consistent with the directed radio frequency
Dude, Big Ramen is shaking in their boots, dude.
energy attack.
This is not a cell phone. This is not what you see from a microwave oven. This is a very particular and
not.
unusual way of delivering microwave energy.
Stanford professor of medicine David Relman chaired the study.
We have neurologists on our committee that said afterwards, in my entire career of reading about countless hundreds and thousands of cases of neurologic injury, I've never heard of something like this.
During the Cold War, American scientist
Bro, this is just a
Alan
little
Frey
side note. This is just a little side note. I've noticed this a lot, right? A lot of offices always just have a bunch of random books, bro. Am I the only one that believes that there's no way that they actually use any of these? Like, I fully believe this dude has only read, like, 4 of these, bro, and the rest of these are just here. Nobody's reading all these books.
This.
And they read
During
it
the
once,
Cold
and
War,
then that's
American
it.
scientist Alan Frey discovered that you could direct microwaves at human heads in order to produce the illusion of sound, even in deaf people. The Soviets found out about Frey's research and flew him to Moscow to learn more. Historically, Russia and the Soviet Union have been very interested in this type of sonic research, and how this terrifying mind-altering technology could be applied to warfare. A
Nice,
1976
bro.
report
Wow, what a shocker, bro. The Russians are trying to use microwaves to incite violence on the world, dude.
the Soviet research
Like, I'm not even shocked about that.
in microwaves
At all.
details experiments conducted on animals. In these experiments, microwaves were used to irrevocably damage the brain makeup of mice. Cells and nerves were damaged, and brain function was altered. It's therefore clear that microwave weapons can be used to manipulate bodies and minds. And as is often the case in the worlds of warfare, power struggles, and politics, if something can be done, it probably has already been done. But despite all this research, and despite all the people claiming that microwave devices are the root cause of the Havana syndrome, no devices have ever been found. Investigators searched the homes, hotels, and hotel rooms where these attacks were occurring.
A revelation just came to me. What if Cuba is a real-life SCP? And it is an anomaly. What if anybody who steps foot and breathes the air of Cuba gets poisoned? And then it just randomly triggers, and then that's when they get sick. Bro, what if, bro? I'm telling you, I gotta
But could
figure it
find no
out.
devices and no signs
either
of
that or the
suspicious
Russians.
activity or interference. Some researchers then began to
That was a joke, by the way, because apparently people don't get when I'm being sarcastic, so I gotta explain. It was a joke, by the way.
speculate that the symptoms weren't being created by sonic devices. After undertaking brain scans, investigators discovered that some of the sufferers had physical damage to their brains. And as far as we know, it's impossible to cause physical trauma to a brain by using sound. Brain damage and concussions? It's not possible, said Joseph Pompey, a psychoacoustics expert. Somebody would have to submerge their head into a pool lined with very powerful ultrasound transducers. Another investigator said, there is no evidence whatsoever that this was caused by a sonic device. It is physically impossible to have brain damage caused by an acoustical device. And most of those symptoms are not symptoms of sonic weaponry. Another claimed that the brain injuries were similar to those observed by soldiers struck by roadside bombs on military duty, but seemingly without any sign of impact. In short, the injuries were significant and impossible to overlook. But no one had ever seen anything like them. No one could explain the sounds, the trauma, the psychological effects, or any other symptom of the Havana syndrome. Because of all of this uncertainty, some skeptics have come up with a much different explanation. And it is just as strange and just as disturbing.
What is it? What is it? Don't tell me it's a witch.
So strap yourself in, because this is where things
strapped.
get weird. Some skeptics claim that all of these symptoms are nothing but mass hysteria, much like the dancing plagues, laughing plagues, and other mass delusions that have occurred historically in other parts of the world. Throughout history, there have been many other cases of collective mass hysteria, in which people have exhibited mental and physical symptoms brought on by fear, stress, and panic. And some people believe that the Havana syndrome can be explained in exactly the same way. For example, in Belgium, 1999, around 100 people reported illnesses after drinking Coca-Cola. But these symptoms of illness were proven to be nothing but a mass delusion.
Bro, I said that at the beginning. See, I said that's just the coke kicking in. Look at that. I was
in
right.
1962,
That's crazy.
in the African village of Tanganyika, over 1,000 children were involved in a laughing hysteria, in which they couldn't stop laughing for several months.
What?
Again, this was proven to be psychosomatic, and was attributed to high levels of stress. In Europe, between the 14th and 17th centuries, there were many dancing epidemics, in which people would dance until they became exhausted or injured, or even until they died.
What?
Some experts think these dances were caused by stress or fear.
They was just throwing
Others believe
ass
that
till
many people
death.
joined in simply because they didn't want to feel left out. Sound-related symptoms and illnesses have occurred in several places around the world, including England, New Mexico, Ontario, and Indiana. Some people in these places believe they can hear constant sounds, and this belief causes intense physical and mental reactions, both real and imagined. There's even a so-called World Hum database
Hey, look,
dedicated
there's
to
my
finding these
hood.
hums throughout the
Right
world,
there.
and providing explanations for why they happen, or at least what people think they happen. These types of mass hysteria episodes usually happen in people who feel stressed, powerless, and worried. And as we've covered, US representatives in Cuba were frequently targeted and attacked by Cuban officials, which would have led to high levels of stress and concern. But what about the evidence of concussions?
Yeah, and physical
How
brain
can
damage.
psychosomatic illnesses
And why is somebody in Uzbekistan stressed about what the hell's happening in Cuba, bro? I feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions here. There's a lot of unanswered questions. There is physical damage to the brain. This is happening on places that are not even associated with Cuba. So how could all of these people be stressed about the same thing if none of them are related to each other? Feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions, Jorge.
cause concussion-like
What you got for me?
injuries to the brain? Well, some scientists believe that this type of physical trauma doesn't always need to occur because of a physical cause. Strangely, these types of abnormalities can be seen in brain scans of people with chronic pain, depression, trauma, and other illnesses. So, are the victims really just suffering from mental illness brought on by their own fear, stress, and paranoia? According to one researcher, that's exactly what happened. Quote, aside from the reported syndromes, there is no evidence that a microwave weapon exists, and all the available science suggests that any such weapon would be wildly impractical. It's possible that the symptoms of all the sufferers of the Havana syndrome share a single, as yet unknown, cause. It's also possible that multiple real health problems have been amalgamated into a single syndrome.
Now, the fact that here's my problem, right? Here's my thing, right? So the mental illness thing makes sense, right? Because it was like whole families getting sick, right? And so it could be like a hereditary thing or whatever, right? But what about the dog? What about the Virginia dog, right? She was walking her dog and the dog started having a seizure too. What about the dog, bro? I feel like there's just a lot of crazy, like, inconsistencies that just, this makes no sense, bro. I've never been more confused in my life, bro. Last time I was this confused, I was taking the ACT, bro. Like, this is fucked.
This case is packed with unanswered questions. First, why is the Havana syndrome only affecting CIA operatives, embassy staff, government representatives, and their families?
That's another great question.
Why, according to US authorities, have FBI investigators never been given the CCTV footage they asked for? They allegedly requested access to the hotel's security footage.
Dude, now here's what's not a joke. Here's what's not a joke, bro. You know what's crazy? The fact that the CIA is heavily, right, is like a consistent thing amongst this whole thing, right? It's the CIA operatives, right, and shit like that, right? We know throughout history the CIA has done some shady shit, right? What is it? Project whatever, where they're like trying to brainwash people and stuff, right? We know that in real life the CIA was doing some real shady shit behind the scenes, bro. CIA operatives are the ones that are affected, bro. I don't think it's too far-fetched to believe that maybe the CIA's got something to do with this, bro. I feel like that's...
They allegedly requested access to the hotel's security footage, but never received any of it. Why are the FBI and the CIA so reluctant to release public information about the case?
Because they in on it, that's why.
Including the names of the people
MK Ultra, that's what it is. That's what I was thinking
suffered. Why do most people involved in the investigations ask to remain anonymous? The CIA and the NSA have been intercepting intelligence and conducting various investigations for a long time, but haven't been able to find any concrete evidence or clues that point to who's to blame. Even now, in 2021, US officials have made these investigations a priority and are still trying to work out how these attacks happened and where they come from. Most of the US now believe that Russian forces are behind the attacks, and there's some evidence to back this up.
The Russians, interesting.
CIA agents have been using phone tracking technology to monitor the whereabouts of Russian agents who they believe to be involved. During many of the attacks, Russian operatives have been very close to the people experiencing the symptoms. On 2 occasions, they were in the very same hotel as those who were being attacked. And as already mentioned, Russia and the Soviets have shown interest in this type of weaponry, at least according to online sources.
He's got a point. And we know the Russians, they don't fuck with the Americans, bro. They think of us as just a bunch of Yankee Doodle dandies, obese cheeseburger eating losers, bro. The Russians do not fuck with us, bro. So it's not too far-fetched that they want to use sonic warfare to incite violence on Americans, bro. I feel like it could be plausible. Could be a thing.
Saying, quote, "We sympathize with our colleagues and wish them good health. We believe that it is immoral and low to launch anti-Russian speculations. Fictions about some psi rays are beyond common sense." because of all the
Bro,
secrecy.
this is literally some Marvel shit, bro. Like the Hydra is reborn, and they are using psi beams to fucking hurt people,
around
bro.
the Havana syndrome.
We
There are
need
lots of theories
Iron
about what is
Man.
happening,
Or we're not
and
getting him
who is
now.
responsible.
We need Spider-Man.
Perhaps the Havana syndrome has all been manufactured by Cuba, or some group with links to Cuba, or maybe by someone that wants to damage the relationship between Cuba and the USA. Some people even think that the CIA or the FBI are attacking their own people in order to stir up war.
Come on, man. Y'all gotta give me my credit, bro.
So, might US forces be behind these attacks?
Yeah, they could be.
Or is it feasible that the Havana syndrome doesn't exist at all? There are still some skeptics who believe the symptoms are psychosomatic, and that any corroborating concussions have been caused by previous trauma or mental triggers. The Havana syndrome is one of the world's strangest modern-day mysteries,
Nice.
and we may never know exactly what it is or exactly what is happening. Will its symptoms continue to spread? Will it be the future of warfare? Or is it really nothing at all?
Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy because we still don't fucking know. And again, this is terrifying because, like I said, you don't know where this is gonna happen. You don't know when this is gonna happen. You don't know who this is gonna happen to, bro. This is crazy. This is psychotic, bro. There's a couple explanations, right? Right? The Russians, right? Could be a bunch of Russian operatives doing these, right? Trying to incite violence, okay? It could be the CIA themselves doing this. It could be the CIA themselves doing this. Or, third for you, I got a whammy for you, right? What if it's aliens? The aliens on Mars are beaming down signals of communication, and it is affecting the psychological components of the brain, bro. But on a serious note, it could also be like some weird, like neurological disease that we've never studied it. We don't know what the hell it is. It could be new, you know what I'm saying? Could be some like weird neuro illness. Like I said, could be the CIA, could be Russian, could be aliens, could be a weird SCP, could be demons, bro. Could literally be anything, bro. And that's what makes this the most terrifying.